How's it going, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And it is my absolute pleasure to get to interview this. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I didn't have enough time backstage to say it. One of my all-time favorite creative team ever, to have just graced the pages of comics. We have Geoff Johns, sorry, right there, and Ivan Hayes.
Yeah, very well.
All right,
Really good.
that's the last time I do it right. I promise that. Thank you,
But
gentlemen.
don't worry, forget. Feel free to go with Ivan.
Okay. From this moment on, we will do that. I will honor your wishes. Thank you both for taking the time to talk to me and talk to us about this upcoming projects and Ghost Machine and just your career in comics. I've been very blessed to meet Geoff a couple times, signing my big books that I bring to him. Ivan, you're in Brazil, correct?
Yes, in Brazil, correct.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever met you at a con, so it's but one day.
I know.
One day.
I don't remember really. I don't think so.
No, it's no. I would know. I would know. You're.
I spent a time far from conventions for years. I'm just get back for conventions with Ghost Machine.
Oh, good. So you guys are doing conventions. I know that you guys were set up at New York Comic Con last year when things were about to kick off.
Yeah, we'll all be there again this year. New York Comic Con's kind of our it's. I mean, it's going to be our tradition now, but it's our big summit where the entire company comes to New York. And we actually meet for days before the show, like we did last year. We had a summit that week before we announced the Ghost Machine Thursday. We go through everything: business, the creative, the hanging out. Like it's really where we all get to meet in person. The only time all of us are there in the year because everyone's global. Like Ivan's in Brazil, Peter Snaberg's in Denmark, Itch is in England, Gary's in Italy, Francis and Jay are in Ontario, Canada. So it's like we're all over the place. I'm in LA, like Tomasi's in Delaware, Brad's in Meltzer's in Florida. Like everyone's kind of across the world. So New York is really our central hub where we all come together and talk about what we love, what we want to do, what we think works, what we think could be better, like all that stuff. We had a great time last year because it was the first time we ever got to come together. And this year, a year later, is really exciting because we all really got to know each other and bond that last year.
I talked a little bit before we went live about just how much creative power you guys have at Ghost Machine. It is insane. Like any of you all that are working there, you've grown a huge fan following on your works, like that you've done over the years. You've become a household name to a lot of us, and to have you all in one company is that's a powerhouse, man. How did that even come about?
Well, it started now. Gosh.
Actually, Geoff was the first Ghost.
I started. 4 years ago when Gary and I were wrapping up Doomsday Clock, and Gary wanted to go work on something that was not superhero, that was not on schedule, that we could control more the release of it, the creative of it. It didn't have to fit into a bigger thing, and just do something new. And Eric Stevenson had been asking me. I'd known Eric for years and years, and I love Image. Like Image is such a huge part of my reading comics growing up. And so we pitched Geiger to Image, and that went really well. It was super fun. We were actually going to go back to, corporate owned characters and stuff afterward, but we had so much fun. It was so lucrative too for us. It was like, oh wow, we could actually keep doing this. And it was fun, but it was just freeing to be able to tell a story with a beginning, middle, and end, and tell something different. And then Jason Fabok and I were starting to talk about what do we want to do after 3 Jokers? Like they'd asked us to do more Batman and Joker, but it was like, look, we did it. What else do we want to do? And then we started talking, like Brian Hitch and I were talking about Redcoat, and Tomasi and Brad and Francis. Everyone just kind of had these conversations. And then eventually Ivan too, and we just started talking about what we want to do in comic books. And it was like, I want to get back to long form storytelling, monthly books, characters with really great emotional stories, but also I want to explore different stuff because I don't want to be, you know, the eighth version of a character. I want like there to be one, like there's only one Hyde Street. Like there's not going to be like, oh, this is this version of Hyde Street. There's another version of Hyde Street, another version. We really wanted to, you know, break new ground creatively and have the ability to do it the way we wanted to do it and roll it out the way we wanted to roll it out and tell stories like that. People would be like, you can't tell a red coat British soldier like in the 1800s. That no, you can't do that book. We didn't you know, we didn't want to be told, no, you got to do another Batman book or you got to do another X-Men book or what. We wanted to do our own thing. And so it really grew out of conversations around the business creatively and business wise, what we wanted to do. We looked at the Image founders when they left Marvel and DC as our inspiration, but we wanted to do it even go a step further and be unified in every way. So we all co-own the company, the characters, the books, everything, like all the creators, the whole company does.
Okay, so you have the option of, and please correct me if I'm wrong, of getting the stories and books published or collected editions published by, I assume, any publisher you choose. If it's Ghost Machine, you just choose to work with Image because you had a really good experience with them.
Yeah, we love working with Image. We love partnering with Image Comics, and so yes, we love them as our publisher. The people are great. Alex Cox and Jim Viscardi and Kat Salazar and everyone there is awesome under Eric. And I had great conversations like Todd McFarlane, who's like a hero of mine, and Eric Larson. And it's just cool to be Robert Kirkman. It's cool to be at a place that is so strictly about the creator and the story and book they're telling and comics. And I think what's interesting, because we looked at every publisher out there, but it's really like the really only true creator-owned publisher is Image, because all the other publishers that say they do creator-owned books, like they own part of it, they control the media rights, it's not truly creator-owned and controlled. And so Image is the only place that is 100% like that's it. If a creator brings a book there, they own it. And so we really wanted to be a part of that. And a part of the legacy of creator ownership and also kind of mainstream creators breaking out and teaming up and doing something new. Like our books clearly they're going to have our sensibilities, which are just our sensibilities from Green Lantern and Blackest Night and the Ultimates and all the books we've all worked on, you know, Batman and Robin, like everything. So, but that's where Ghost Machine came. It was very organic. It started as kind of Gary and I, you know, working with Image, and then it blew up into Ghost Machine, and now Ivan and I are doing Hyde Street. So,
well, I know. Well, at least last year at New York Comic Con, there were a lot of announcements as to who was going to be working exclusively with Ghost Machine, and I'm not really sure if you can even answer this, but maybe Ivan can. But like, as far as exclusivity, does that limit like what you can do with other companies? Like if DC were to approach Ivan and be like, hey, we would like for you to draw these 5-issue miniseries of the Teen Titans or something like that. How does that work?
Yeah. I worked at DC for almost 20 years. It's a lot. Actually, I felt really secure working to them. I had kind of freedom. I could draw. I had the chance to draw all the characters, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, stories. I did a lot of stuff with Geoff. And I always had the chance to do other things. Of course, I was invited to do. But I always thought, if I have to leave DC, would be only to do something really different, not other superhero comics. That's why I never did something for Marvel, for example. I would be doing the same superhero universe. we have a moment on our career where we have no more challenge. It's not easy to find a challenge. In a superhero universe, I was in that moment. I did all kind of spreads and double pages with a lot of superheroes, crazy universe. And now with Hyde Street, it's a really, really big challenge for me because I'm changed the way I think art. I change everything about my work, and that is a real challenge. And I never had problem to stay on the sea because I never had a real challenge to do. And now with Geoff, I have. With that team, the Ghost Machine team, I have a challenge. Not only drawing different things, not only create something from scratch, but to understand the market, talking about art, talking about other books and possibilities, and that's inspiring me really. So I think I'm leave DC in the right moment because now I recharge it with energy and creativity to give a new direction for my work. And now I see myself learning new things about art, learning new things about storytelling. That's it. I never had problem because I never had a real challenge. That's why. And DC always allow me to stay working with superhero, and I was comfortable, but I think I learned everything I could, and I did everything I could with superhero. Now it's time to take my art for another direction, and that's why I thank Ghost Machine for this, because I'm back in some way for comics. I trust me, you never saw my work like in Hyde Street. It's completely different, and I'm loving that.
Yeah, it's you know, Omar, too, like, just one clarification, like, we're none of the creators that are part of Ghost Machine, we're exclusive, but it's our company. We all own the company.
Okay.
So we run the company. Like, Ivan runs the company. Like, we all, the creators, run the company. Like, we hire the editorial teams, we hire the and they're great, the development crew, the you know, the business team, like, all of that is the creators. We own this company together jointly. So it's not just being exclusive to a company, it's our company.
Yeah, it's changed everything. Everything. It's not a agreement.
Yeah, that's why it's like, that's why seeing like Pete and Francis doing Rockefellers, like, all of us are as invested in that book as we are our own, because we're all, it's our book too, you know. So it's like it's a creator owned, it's not only creator owned, it's creator owned company, a creator controlled company, creator run company.
It's great. Do you know one thing? I see myself, and that's what I think is beautiful in Ghost Machine. I see everybody supporting each other and spreading the word about the other books, not only yours book. You want everybody. You want to talk about everybody, and all the teams together spreading these words. And it's beautiful. It's amazing. No ego involved in Ghost Machine. That's the best part in working with them.
100% agree. It's awesome because they're like, everybody's ego, like, everyone's challenging themselves to, like, I feel like I just want to create books that will be great next to all the other books. Like, I just want to do my part to try and make, like, I want to make sure that I'm delivering my very best work, because it's not just me, it's everybody. Like, these are I want, you know, Francis to read a Hyde Street and be like, that was awesome, guys, because it's his book too. Like, so I feel responsibility in a really healthy way, a healthy competition with our team, because I just want to be able to stand next to them and know I delivered the very best work I could deliver, because it's all of us teamed up. It's a very wonderful and new feeling, I think.
Yes,
that's why.
definitely.
Yeah, it's just new. It's not, and I don't think we all expected to feel it as much as we do. But it's really made Ghost Machine that much more powerful. Is that it's all about the creators. Like, I don't know if there's another company where the creators are they run it and own it, and there's this many of us. Like, we really believe in this. This is long term. Like, this is, I love long form storytelling. I love comics, and it feels so good to get back to those monthly books where you're gonna have stories for years and see the characters grow and change, and that to me is super exciting. And doing it in an environment that's very healthy and supportive is awesome.
Yes.
This is a really unique way to run a company. When you were thinking about doing this, I assumed you looked ahead at like the possible pros and of course the cons. I mean, you have to when you're looking at something like this in the long run, because if it's creator owned, how does something like Hyde Street work, right? Like, let's talk about that, because first of all, let's talk about the story of Hyde Street first. It's both you and Ivan. Ivan, is this your first creator-owned comic?
Yes, it is.
It's so good too. I assume you've seen a lot of it, Omar, already.
Yeah. Like I told you, never makes sense for me to leave DC or the exclusivity or do a creator on it to do superhero, because I did everything with superhero. I was waiting for the right project, and this is completely new for me, and it's amazing start my creator on it with this challenge. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
Oh, I got a really quick from Greg. Great guy here. Excited to read the new issue of Geiger this week. Been a continually great series. Also, congrats to Danny Ward on joining Ghost Machine. Amazing, hardworking person who loves comics. I also love Danny. I'm a huge fan of her.
Yeah, she's
so when I saw,
super lucky to have her.
So when I saw her Facebook, I was like, all right.
You know, Omar, though, like, honestly, everybody that's a part of Ghost Machine, talking to your point of, we spent years and years developing Ghost Machine. It wasn't just like, hey, let's do it, and then a month later we announced it in New York.
Yeah, I didn't think that was happening when I saw New York.
We went through all of it, and it wasn't just building a. You know, I've run TV shows with huge budgets. I've produced stuff, been part of a company, written a lot of stuff, and I've seen the challenges and the benefits, and all of us have brought our own experiences to this. And we sat down for over 2 years talking about what would it look like? How would we make this work? Not only on a business side, but also the creative side of it, because we all want to tell stories. We all respect one another. I mean, Ivan and I have been working together since we worked at Marvel, like over 20 years ago. Gary, I've worked with forever, started at Marvel too, the same time. And I've known Brian Hitch forever. Like, all of us came together, and we weren't just curating our line of books, but also the people that were part of the company, like Danny, right? Like, the people we're bringing into the company, the people that are part of the company, the people that help found the company, all of them are wonderful, passionate, hardworking, talented people. And they're very respectful too. And that's how the company works.
Yeah. And the great team players.
Yeah, team. It's just a team. It's truly a team. So it's not like, oh, I'm just worried about my book or my thing or whatever. Everyone's invested in everybody, and that's really a big deal. It doesn't look like it's a big deal, but it's a big deal.
Well, I think it's very important to be like that, right? Like, I think Ivan said something earlier about everybody being each other's cheerleader. Yeah. And I think you need that, because we do live in a world of competition, and even within the inner companies, right? It's like, oh, I'm here to talk about my book, or I'm here to just hype my book up, which is great. I get it. But you hardly ever see anybody like, oh, but have you been reading so-and-so's work on this particular comic, or this character has been phenomenal. Hardly anybody really does that, even within the same company. Maybe because they're too busy, I don't know, writing, drawing comics.
Well, yeah, I mean, everyone's busy. It's just Ghost Machine's a different construct than working at like DC or Marvel or another another independent company, because you guys you guys see the books, but behind the scenes, we're talking all the time. Like we're in communication. By the way, sometimes just about like what we're eating for lunch or whatever, because we have a signal chat with the whole team on it. But sometimes we're talking about, conventions or ideas or books or, whatever we're talking about. It's presented to all of us, and we're all involved. So we're all focused on delivering our books, but we're also focused on making sure this company, the culture of it, the essence of it, the DNA of it is what we want it to be. Because last year in New York, there was a great moment when we were all in the room together at our summit. The whole team was there, and there was a moment where it was like, you know what? No, what's great is that nobody outside this room has anything to say about what we do. There's no like,
oh right, yeah, that's a great feeling.
It's a great feeling. Like no one's gonna like buy this company and then put someone else in charge, and suddenly we have to do this or suddenly mandate this or say this or do that. And I'll tell you, like those granular things and I love working at DC. I love.
I was about to say, you're Geoff Johns. Like I didn't mean to cut you off, but you are Geoff Johns. When I think of Geoff Johns, I think of like, oh, editors are letting Geoff Johns write whatever the hell he wants to.
Okay, so I'll tell you, but that's not like there's just small examples, and it's just part of being a bigger universe. But like, oh, we're gonna blow up Dr. Fate's helmet, take him out of JSA. It's like, oh, okay. I wish I would have known that, before I wrote this script.
Okay. There's
things like that do happen, and sometimes it's just small things, and that's comes with the territory. Like that's just the way it is, and so you adjust to it and you work with it. But like even on scheduling, like, oh, we have to get this book out earlier because we need to make the quarter, and you're like, well, we need more time on it. Don't release it yet. And they have to do it. There's all sorts of things that happen, and they're again nothing malicious. It's just the way that is, and there's enough stuff in it that does add up eventually where you're like, or people going, oh my God, I'm worried about what the new person's going to say about, we have to do more Batman books, or we have to do this or that. Like we just, it feels good to not have to worry about any of that stuff. Right. To be able to say like, oh, hey, we want cardstock covers. Well, they're more expensive. That's cool. Like
I have to say, I was in my overview of, I didn't, not this one, but the deluxe edition hardcover of Geiger that everybody got. I don't know whose decision it was to go oversize. Yeah. Because it is taller. I don't know if people can see. It is taller than an omnibus. That was brilliant because it stands out. It's like I know that Rick Remender likes his books like that too, really big. So when I saw that it was deluxe, I was like, cool, it's gonna be deluxe. But it's so much bigger than just deluxe. That thing is it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And look, one of the conscious things I think is we're not about quantity, we're about quality. And we want like the paper stock, the formats, like everything. We just want it to be the best it can be. Even the first action figure we have coming out from Mezco, like Mezco is awesome, and the quality of Junkyard Joe is crazy. So like everything we do, we really want to maintain and create a level of quality because that's all that matters, and that's what's going to last. So we're not out to publish 30 books a month or 10 books a month even. We just want a handful of really great books,
Yeah.
I know that the FOC on some of the pages has been lifted. I didn't know if I could share one of the cover. I've seen the cover out there, so I assume I can.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
An internal page, but let me get the cover out there first.
Yeah, we love this.
Okay. So you guys know you've built a huge following because of your runs on, of course, Green Lantern, and this Blackest Night homage is just so awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Ivan did such an iconic cover there. I think part of this is to just, if you like the work that Ivan and I did on Green Lantern or Blackest Night or Aquaman or whatever all the stuff we've done, maybe give Hyde Street one a chance.
How it is. So I got to read the first issue, and I will say it is a lot different than the stuff that you guys were doing. But we know that Ivan can do like dark, like violent stories because we saw it like in the especially in Blackest Night. It seems like
Yes.
he was doing stuff that he hadn't been doing before, and he was like really in his element. He was like, "Oh, I like doing this." Is that the way this felt, Ivan, doing something like this? Because it has like that horror element to it, if you will.
It's fun because Geoff and I always work in superhero books with a pinch of horror. Mm-hmm. Since Vision, when you get our first work together, the Vision, it's creep. It's a creep story. It's not a classic superhero story. And then we had the Black as Night, Aquaman. We always had a pinch of horror situations, but we had limits. Of course, it's a superhero story, but that teach me how to deal with blood and gore. And we start to understand the horror is not about visual. It's not about gore. It's emotion. You need to build this feeling. And I believe that all the books we did with this horror moments was a way to learn how to build this universe, how to build Hyde Street, because Hyde Street it's a different horror story. It's not about blood and gore. It's more than this. It's emotional. It's so drawing these characters, these ordinary characters, is a challenge because we need to bring the fantastic into this universe. And what is beautiful. So I'm using all my legacy, all my experience working with Geoff in superheroes, and now with this freedom in Hyde Street to do whatever we want visually. We understand we don't need to show the gore or too much gore. We can down this situation, let the reader work with their imagination, because the imagination is stronger than the image. And that's amazing because it's an ordinary world. It's ordinary people, but with a fantastic, a weird things on them. So you have double feelings because you love them. You will learn to love them. At the same time, you will feel uncomfortable for that because they are unique. You need to read Reis to understand these characters. Geoff is building an emotional story with all her elements in a different way. It's not, and you love that. It's more. It's more. How could I say? Yeah, it's more emotional. It's a different way to see the horror. Yeah, it's a different way to see the horror. You can see yourself in a story. You can relate it yourself with the characters, and it's amazing.
I know the man can write emotional. I don't know how many times I've read one of his works that has just moved me, and I don't expect it to. Even like at the beginning of, I don't want to spoil for people that haven't read it. Even at the beginning of Geiger, I'm like, well, there goes that manly eye sweat again. I wasn't expecting that to happen.
Yeah, I like I look at Hyde Street as it is emotional, but all the stories have to be emotional. They have to be about something. They have to be about exploring something emotional. And one of the things I love about superhero comics is figuring that out. Like, what's Aquaman exploring? And that was really exploring, well, somebody who's of two cultures and feels they don't belong to either. And then somebody that ultimately has to discover that they will unite them. And it's their responsibility. Maybe it's a responsibility he doesn't want. But it was a really good emotional story, whether he's a superhero or not, is finding those emotional stories and those emotional, whether it's Flashpoint or Blackest Night or any of these three Jokers. You got to find the emotional story that, and with Hyde Street, I say it's part Twilight Zone, part Tales from the Crypt, but then real character stories, like real, real heart lost. It's a very emotional, it's an emotional story about people. But with the cast mythology behind it and visuals, and I mean, it's Ivan's drawing it, so it's got to have.
How much? Okay, so how much of it is Geoff Johns and then Ivan coming in with ideas, or how does that work? Since both of you have worked together on many projects for a long time, now you don't have to really worry about Dr. Fate's helmet being crushed because editors are coming in from a shared universe, right? How is the collab here? How does it work?
Well, I mean, I think I pitched a skeleton of an idea to Ivan, and then he started pitching things back, and then he started drawing characters for it, and then I started putting those characters in the book and developing stories, and we went back and forth. Just in Denver, we spent a day where we were like talking about one of our characters, and you can find them on that last page of Hyde Street 1, which Omar, I assume you've seen. There's a list, there's a lot of them there, and a lot of those are like we came up with. Some of them we came up together, some of them I came up with, some of them he came up with. Like there's one called The Chain that's a really great character. But there's all these different. So it was really here's the start of something, the kindling, then us working independently and together, and then getting together in Denver, and then also just starting to see. It's funny, I don't know who said this to me, and it was recently, which I'm surprised by, but like when a writer and an artist are working together, you're talking to each other through your medium. So I'm talking to Ivan through my script, and he's talking back to me through his art. So as I get in
the conversation,
it's a conversation. It might have been you, Ivan. So as we're talking back and forth, my story gets revised because I'm getting back what he's presenting, and I think vice versa. And so we start to feed into each other because it is a conversation. I'll get a page in, and I'll start to rethink a little bit about who this character is and what's going on, and it slowly develops. Like it took a long time to really develop Hyde Street 1 because it's the first issue without any foundation, with nothing else around it. And then issue 2 was like boom, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, I have pages for issue 4 I'm going to write, and suddenly it just started building itself, and now I'm like, I see the story so clearly and the character so clearly, but they still continue to get refined as I get pages in. And I start to shape, and it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. But yeah, I mean, it's a complete collaboration of creation.
We allow the story talk with us too. So, in some level, High Street decided the direction.
Yes,
it's went to go. It's crazy. We are only trying to control the madness of the story because they are alive beings.
100%. Like Pranky, one of the characters, the Boy Scout in it, like he's kind of. I'm like, I have to try and catch up with him now. And Mr. X-Ray, who's kind of our main character, I'm trying to just follow with him because he's pulling me along so much now. Like they do start to take over when they become alive. It just happens when you're writing or working on a book that really clicks. And the thing that I'm really lucky about Ivan and I working together for so long, there is a bit of a shorthand. Like I don't have to quite think about, like, he can draw anything extremely well. Emotion, epic scale action, intrigue, horror, comedy, it's all in Hyde Street. And so I never ever think about anything except making sure I deliver something that is going to be worth him spending his time on illustrating.
It helps a lot because we trust each other. We worked for a long time together, and not only in different books, we did long runs in books. And that is completely different when you do few issues 1 year. We work in Green Lantern for almost 6 years. And working with the same character, we learn to trust each other because we know how developed these characters, how develop the story, because we had this connection. we had this opportunity working to DC with Green Lantern, and
how did that happen?
How?
I was always curious how you guys ended up working together on Green Lantern after, because you had Ethan Van Sciver, then you had Carlos Pacheco, and then Ivan.
Yeah, I got Carlos Pacheco and in Van Sciver. I started in issue 10.
How did that happen? Was it editor, or did somebody see your art somewhere?
I think originally Tom Brevoort. It's funny. I just looked through the vision the other day, Ivan. Originally, Tom Brevoort, who's a fantastic editor and human being. I was working on some Marvel stuff. This is like, I mean, year 2 of my career, I think, or early.
Dude, the fact that they had you and
early.
You have no idea how often I go on about what could have been with Geoff Johns at Marvel Comics with the Avengers or even X-Men. Anyway,
I love I could go on about the stories I have for all those characters. But anyway, I love those characters too. But Ivan and I were put together, I think, by Tom, and we did Vision, and then we did this. I love the Falcon. I grew up like reading old copies of Captain America and the Falcon. So we did this awesome Falcon issue of Avengers.
Yeah, I remember.
So fun to work with that character and Ivan on it. And then we did a Superman Batman Secret Files at DC. Like DC wanted me exclusive.
Just like that, huh? At 2 years into your career.
That's about 3 or 4.
You had been doing Flash over there.
Yeah,
that wasn't exclusive.
Yeah, I did Stargirl, Flash, JSA, and I was just starting to do Hawkman, I think. I was probably 2 years, 3 years into it. But this was also when Marvel and DC were starting to snap up talent because,
right.
A lot of people were going back and forth. And for a variety of reasons, I chose DC. But Ivan came. I loved working with Ivan. Brought him over to DC with Superman, Batman, and then we did a Teen Titans 1/2, I think, right, Ivan?
We did a Teen Titans and the Legion.
Yeah, yes, the Legion special.
Oh, yeah. That's right, with Superboy. Yeah,
yeah, Titans, Legions. I love the Legion. And then Ivan got on. We got to be paired on Green Lantern, and that changed the book for me completely. So. Yeah. I loved working with Ethan on Rebirth. I love working with Pacheco on the first, handful of issues of Green Lantern. But when Ivan came on, there was something that happened with the book. The scale that Ivan could deliver with a core, it was huge, and it really built a Sinestro core. I feel like I know it's called Sinestro Core War. I never had war on the title. I don't know where it came from.
I think I call it that too, even though it doesn't say war on the title.
Yeah, Sinestro Core. That was when everything changed because that storyline for me was a culmination of, because we worked on Infinite Crisis too, right, Ivan? Like, did some work on that. But when Ivan and I got on the Sinestro Core, my entire thinking of superhero comics changed with that storyline. A lot of it had to do with a lot of stories I'd written up to then, things that I thought worked well and things that didn't work well, and trying to learn from what I thought didn't work well and trying to really tap into something special and new. And Ivan, I'll never forget all those spreads in Green Lantern 25. There's so many.
Oh my God, the dude! I was getting single issues then. I'm now.
Yeah, that was great.
But getting those comics at the comic book store with the double page spreads, with the cliffhangers, like I couldn't wait until the next one. And then, oh, you bastard! I love this. This is by the way, a compliment. What you guys did was the teaser. What was it? 2005 gave us Green Lantern Rebirth. 2007 gave us Sinestro Corps, and then coming in 2009 is Blackest Night. Yeah. And I never in my life wanted a time machine. I was like, I gotta wait 2 years to read whatever the hell Blackest Night is going to be. Oh my God!
It was so cool to know where we were going and be able to. I wanted that Green Lantern 25, and again, I'd written like big books, like things that I thought worked and things that didn't work as well. And I'm like, I want Green Lantern 25 to be special and epic, and I still one of my favorite books I've ever gotten the privilege to work on. And Ivan, when he was drawing all those, I mean, that thing was like so big too. I remember Ivan like was like there were so many pages to do, and we had to get it done, and it was we were getting so much pressure from above to get it out, and they were like, we have to ship an uplog before it's over, and I was like, it won't matter in the long run, and it didn't. But it was like it was a real challenge for us on every level, but it was 100% a massive turning point for me and Ivan. And
yeah, I think so.
Careers, yeah.
It was Sinestro War. And in the sequence, what was great, because in the sequence we did Green Lantern's Secret File.
Yeah.
That was a completely different story. And we did a completely different style of story. It's more vintage and more, it was different. Yeah. In that moment, after Sinestro War, I start to notice I could learn about the frames and how to work with the frames. And then I start to improve my work. It definitely was Sinestro War in the sequence, Green Lantern, Secret Files, because they were two completely different books with two different styles and different storytellings, and it was amazing. Black as Night was a consequence from these books for me.
Yeah, that was the culmination of it all for sure.
It was a combination, exactly. Black as Night for me was a combination from Sinestro War and Green Lantern Secret File, because both had different style. The way you write was different. The compositions was different. One was more superhero. The other book was more vintage, and and Black as Night was a mix of this. We always say Black as Night, but everything started in Sinestro War.
100%. Yeah, it's funny because Sinestro War was that was the moment I felt it shift.
Yeah.
It was insane just how popular Green Lantern was, and I assume that was, something that you wanted to see, was make Green Lantern almost a flagship title at DC, more so than Superman and Batman.
I mean, look, we weren't like, I think our thought was always just make it a great book that was different than every other book. I mean, I was on it for almost a decade, and that book for almost a decade was one of the top sellers at DC, and the character was always vying for the top spot with Batman, and I just was really happy for that because it meant people were seeing the magic that I think Green Lantern can be. Mm-hmm. And we were exploring new things and introducing a lot of new characters that were actually like sticky, like it was really great to see Atrocitus and St. Walker and Larfleeze and all these other new characters, exist, taking old characters like Black Hand and reintroducing them as something completely new and different, and then of course Hal and everybody else. But yeah, I think we were always really grateful that it was selling as well as it was, because it felt like a lot of people who didn't read DC regularly who only read Batman were now reading Batman and Green Lantern, and that was cool.
And then there was Green Lantern Corps. There was the Red Lanterns comics. Sinestro had his own comic. It was an insane, like, if you were a Green Lantern fan for decades, and that was your era, that was like everything was Green Lantern. And then when you guys did Blackest Night and you had those rings, I remember
those rings were
comic book stores lost it, man. They loved
Geoff is a master to scale the story. He knows how to scale a story. And and I told him, now we had the chance to start from scratch and scale the Hyde Street with one difference. Now we have more experience.
Yeah. And also, the other thing is that the cool thing is that I remember when I wrote Green Lantern 20, like, look, we're on Hyde Street for years and years. Like,
I was about to ask, like, how
it is a long story to tell. It is a monthly book. Like, we were on it for a long time. One of the great things about this too is that we have a whole story to tell. It'll keep going, and on Green Lantern, I remember when I had to end that run, I was like, oh my God, this isn't going to be a real ending, because it's going to keep going and keep going and keep going, because that's just the nature of those books, which is fine. They should. It's nice to be able to know that there's not going to be a version of Mr. X-Ray that turns up that is not what we would do. You know, that's exciting to have that kind of creative parameters around what we're doing with Hyde Street now. Is we have more experience telling stories. We're exploring things that are new and unpredictable, because it's not a superhero book, and there's a finality to everything that happens in the book. You know, if things happen, they really matter. And I think back when we were doing Green Lantern, I think it still felt like that, because it had only been like, a relaunch or two of Green Lantern, and now it's a little harder because everything feels more like it's like, oh, another relaunch, another relaunch, another relaunch. And we want this book to feel special, that the stories matter, that the moves the characters make matter, not just life and death, but just choices.
So you guys have Rook, you've got Geiger, you got the Rockefellers, Orange being Halo, Junkyard Joe.
Yeah, Red Coat.
Now oh my gosh, I saw, what was it? Andre Moody, the Blizzard, right? I guess what. Yeah. I love that guy. Just talking, that guy is awesome.
He's a great guy. Yeah.
So are you planning on bringing some of these characters back, like Junkyard Joe? Is there any more?
Yeah, Junkyard Joe, he returns in Geiger number 10, joins that book. Yeah.
Awesome.
And there's some other plans for him. And but there's you'll see him.
So you said these are going to be monthly books for Hyde Street.
Yeah.
Is that
Ivan will be doing, Ivan will be doing the majority of them, and then we have guest artists coming in.
Okay. Because you thought way ahead of time. You guys have been doing this for a long time.
Yeah. Well, one of the other reasons, I mean, not to like, because it's not that interesting to talk about, honestly. Like, a lot of this behind the scenes stuff is not as interesting as just the stories, the comics, the books. Like, that's
I love behind the scenes stories.
Well, but the most important thing is that the stories, are the comics good? Are the characters great? Are they compelling? Are they worth your time and money? And that's really what we focus on. Behind the scenes, we'll talk about stuff like scheduling. Scheduling is a huge deal, because all of us have been through it. And one of the reasons specifically Gary wanted to go and be independent was because of scheduling, because, he would say, I need this much time to draw something, and we would have all this time, and then they would move up the release date. Because they wanted the book out earlier, even though we were like, we're never going to make that. That was always, scheduling is always a really important thing. Like, for us to be able to shift things around and think about it ahead of time. So it's not like, oh, hey, this book's going to ship later, this and that. That's a really important thing for us to do. So that's why we planned ahead. Like, we're already working on the guest artists of the Hyde Street issues. So, that's important to us. We want the books to be out. When they're in solicits, we really want the books to be out.
When it comes to decisions of collected editions, is it going to be normal to go trade paperback and then maybe sometime later do something like you did with Geiger, the deluxe edition? Is that something that everybody's in? I know Peter Tomasi. I've talked to that guy many times. He loves big books. And he loves his names on big books, so I also do too. Is that something that is like depending on the creator behind the books, if that's what they want, or is that something as a company that Ghost Machine wants to do?
It's I mean, right for now, that's what our we always say for now, because we say the concrete's never dry. Like, things always can change. We never say never. For now, we'll do soft covers because we want to get it in the hands of as many people as possible. And then hardcovers, ultimately these books are going to reach issue 50 and beyond. So we're going to collect, we'll collect it down the line, and however it makes sense and people want it.
Okay. Excellent. I like when there's a plan ahead of time. I think
we definitely have a plan, but we also have a plan that we look at periodically and say, is this still the right plan?
That's smart. It's like you guys have been doing this for a long time, and
Well, you
you've
know what? I
learned a
remember. Yeah, there have been times where, like, why do we do that? And they're like, oh, because we always do it. I was like, well, does it still make sense? So one of the things we do is we always challenge
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah,
I think
definitely.
when it comes to
And I think we need to the time
Go ahead.
help the reader to create a connection. When I have the chance to talk with fans, one thing I listen is I start to read comic book with Green Lantern or Black as Night or Sinestro War, and I notice the time we need a time to create an emotional connection with the reader.
Mhm.
You can love a short story, but the connection you are only able with the time. So that's why it's important to have big run and to stay in a book every month and working to create that with them, because the reader will grow up with the story and will have good memories, and that's about that, create memories, create
A connection.
a connection.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is like, that's why, like, Geiger's monthly, Redcoat's very close to monthly because Brian's drawing all of them. Hyde Street will be monthly. Rook isn't told in chapters. Rockefeller's monthly, and Hornsby and Halo's monthly. And then we also have miniseries coming up next year, like First Ghost and Solus. But we really want our core group of books to be monthly books. To be out there, and so there's that consistency of character, because it really is that. I love when there's every Green Lantern, there's these issues, and sometimes you could spotlight something totally different. Like Geiger's 6 is just about his two-headed dog Barney. Like, that's it. The whole issue is his two-headed dog. It's one of my favorite issues to date of the ones we've done, and Gary did a beautiful job. We couldn't do these kind of stories if Hyde Street was like only 5 issues. We'd be in and out so quick we wouldn't have time to explore Pranky and X-Ray and Matinee Monster and Miss Goodbye and all these crazy characters that we have. I couldn't do an issue like issue 4 of Hyde Street. I couldn't do issues like issue 7 of Redcoat, which is, talk about emotional. That's an emotional issue. But like, I couldn't pull this off if they weren't monthly titles. And so, these long runs are important for the stories we want to tell, the kinds of stories, the depth of story, and the overarching, as Ivan says, start small. Like, I do love starting on the emotional character core and then scaling it up to an epic thing, but still staying true to that emotional center, because that's what it's all about. That's the most important thing. But to start with something there's something really cool about starting with Arthur Curry, who on land is looked at as a joke, and in the water they want him dead because he's not completely Atlantean. And then starting with that small scene, the small scenes in the restaurant in issue 1, which we got a lot of flack for internally. They were like, that scene's not going to work. I'm like, this is the whole heart of the book. This scene's got to work. It is him. It's how he still goes on land even though this happens to him, because he cares. But then scaling that conflict up of him into Throne of Atlantis, which is a really big story for us, scaling that up but staying true to the emotional center of Arthur Curry. That's what I love doing. You can't do those on miniseries. You need time to build up to Sinestro Corps. I couldn't have done Green Lantern Rebirth and then jumped right to Green Lantern Sinestro Corps and then jumped right to Blackest Night. It just wouldn't have worked. It would have been too loud, and you need moments to really live with these characters. And that's why it's important to tell these monthly books and these serialized stories, because then the big moments do matter, because they resonate more, because you've earned them. And sometimes you won't know when that'll happen. Like, you assume, oh, it'll happen around issue this, it might move up, it might push back, but you need that runway, that emotional creative runway, to really, as Ivan says, scale these stories up to something magical and big when you do that.
I know that you figured out that formula, because you have ripped my heart out and stomped on it so many times over the years. And I know that you can write with passion, and I both of you are just beasts when it comes to creating books. So I'm really looking forward to it. I know it comes out on October 2nd. the first issue, so right around Halloween, which is great. And I'm going to pick a couple of comments here, a couple of questions that people have asked, but really quick, the Junkyard Joe, that one comes out in November, right? The deluxe hardcover edition?
I believe so, yeah.
Excellent. That's the one I'm looking forward to, because obviously I'm
really excited about that. I love that character. He's one of he's right there. One of the Ghost Machine really cool characters, yeah.
There are so many people that are just about loving you and loving both of your works. And deluxe edition is November 19th. Thank you so much. I'm trying to find this one for Ivan. It's basically somebody it was all in Portuguese, and I'm like, I'm not even gonna read that. I'm gonna let him yeah, there's just a lot of praise for both of you all. Like, just have worked together for a long time. Let's see. Hey, Ivan, do you or any of you in Ghost Machine have a forecast for your comics to come to Brazil? That's an excellent question.
Yeah. Forecast. I don't know exactly what is forecast of your comics. To bring to Brazil.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are open for possibilities, and we just have 1 year, and of course we want Ghost Machine
everywhere,
all the place for everybody. And I think it's time, with the time that will happen in some moments. But now the most important is to focus and create the base for everything. So,
okay.
But in some moment that will happen, definitely.
This is a question. Redcoat and Geiger have a classic checkboard design on the top of the covers, but Rook doesn't. Does that mean it's in some sort of different time?
Yeah. So when we launched Ghost Machine, we really wanted the books to be the best books they can be, and we'd already started, connecting Geiger and Junkyard Joe, and Redcoat was connected to that same timeline, even though they operate in different times. And so that's kind of our superhero adjacent or genre action universe we call the Unnamed, which are like American myth heroes that you never knew existed, like Paul Bunyan and, that kind of like cool, kind of strange American myth heroes that developed during times of war over America's history, from the very beginning in the Revolution with Redcoat to 25 years in the future with Geiger. So those books have the checkerboard on top of them: Geiger, Redcoat, Junkyard Joe. That's our first universe. We have 4, and then our Rook universe is really hard sci-fi.
Okay.
Then we have Hyde Street, which is our horror universe, and books like the One Shot Devourer that comes out later in October is connected to that. Though it happened on Hyde Street Devourer, it's called, is from the point of view of one of the victims. So it's a slightly different shift than the residents, we call them, the beings, the Denzians, the citizens of Hyde Street. And then our 4th universe is with Peter Tomasi's leading up with Francis and Peter Snaberg with the Rockefellers and Hornsby and Halo. And it's called Family Odysseys. And that's really focused on, family stories like Pixar, Hanna-Barbera, but, for modern audiences like Pete did with Super Sons and
oh my gosh, yes,
Batman and Robin. And so like Pete's really tapping into that. And we wanted these 4 universes to be able to live and breathe on their own. And they're kind of genre based and tone based. And that's why we don't have everything like interlocking tight, because it's not necessarily about that. You'll see big stories develop in the Unnamed books, in Rook, in Hyde Street, and in Family Odysseys, where there'll be interactions between the characters and stuff. But that's what we're focused on right now, is really making sure these books are the best books they can be. Hey, Pete.
Here's a question from... So, whatever will happen now with the 3 Jokers sequel?
Well, that is a story. Jason and I, we did a little hint in the last story we did for DC and Joker the World, but we had to have plans for it, and quite honestly, we just got more excited about the possibilities of doing Rook and create our own books and Ghost Machine, and so we're focused on that. As I said, we're not just all exclusive to Ghost Machine. We are Ghost Machine. And so, if you want to read a book by any of us, it's going to be only a Ghost Machine and Image.
Oh man, okay. So you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
Omni Nation had to do it brightest day and blackest night. Jeff
That's awesome.
Jeff
I love
Johnsbury will not escape my sight. Ivan draws with such radiant light. Omar's overviews will always be.
That is so great. That is awesome. It's like it's actually perfectly laid in there. So that's some great work.
Well, that's it. I don't know how you did it. How long did it take you to come up with all of the oaths, man?
It was tough. Some of them were harder than others, you know. Honestly, it's a lot like when a new character starts to coalesce and exist, especially in an environment like Green Lantern or Hyde Street or something like that, where it allows for strange and wonderful characters to grow. Like Larfleeze was just, I didn't expect him to become the character he was, but he just kind of took over. And the characters in Hyde Street are doing a very similar thing. They're just taking over. And when their voices do that, you just kind of listen. It's really fun to do that. But those oaths were always hard.
Well, gentlemen, I just want to thank you both for your time. I know you're super busy creating a monthly comic book schedule.
Yeah.
You know, this is your world. You could have been like, we could do it like, 6 times a year.
Yeah, but here's the thing: like Rook will come out 6 times a year. Like Rook will be out like that in the chapters, like kind of like Hellboy is. Geiger those a monthly in Red Coat and Hyde Street, and again we think Ivan said it perfectly. You need time to connect, and you need more stories than just like sometimes like people forget, like comics started as monthlies. Like comics are like, the monthly book is such a great important art form. It's more like television, which is why I like TV, because you can get to know the characters, you can tell the odd stories, you can go off to the side and do something, and you can plant seeds for bigger, crazier, important things that affect your characters, whatever it will be. But I think and as a writer, I love it, and as an artist, I know that Ivan, like already, I see the pages coming in on Hyde Street, and it's like issue 1s are hard because you're designing everything and you're thinking about the characters, and then they start to take a life of their own, and it becomes really, really, really fun. And yeah. I don't think Batman's best story was Detective 27. It took like, or you know what I mean? Like no one really remembers Action Comics 63, but you start to remember these stories that happen after the characters are developed and they lived for a while.
I will say one other thing to Ghost Machines, like give you all props. You guys have, and I mean all of you as a group, even the people that don't create the comics, like have done an amazing job of keeping up with retailers at comic book stores. I love that a company does that knows that comic book stores are an important part of this business, that don't focus on the book market only. Book market is great, and I get it, but there's few companies that actually show the love towards retailers, and I think you all have done an amazing job just from the retailers I talked to.
Well, we've got great people like Mike Cotton and now Danny, and we also have some cool tricks up our sleeve for retailers.
I love it. This is from a fellow Detroiter, and this will be the last question. Were there more books planned for Batman Earth 1? I always felt like the ending number 3 was quite sudden.
So hi Bruce. So Gary and I had always planned to do we were like the 3 are actually the end of a story that we had, and I'm very happy with how it ended. We had plans for another one, but we're at Ghost Machine now, so it's not gonna happen. But 3 did end. I did end 3 very much like I ended Justice Society America 12 that comes out, I think, next week or next month. We did design Batman Earth 3 to be the ending. We didn't necessarily think we needed to see the story of the Joker with him. It was kind of like, hey, there's a lot more to come. And the way I wrote that with making Arkham more of a treatment facility, because I think that's important. My grandfather was schizophrenic, and I think mental illness is really important to take on. But the way that I wrote that with introducing the outsiders and ultimately the Joker, it was an ending that worked for me. And we did have an idea for another one, but it wasn't. We didn't get that far down the road before we were working on Geiger and Ghost Machine and all that.
Now it's time for prank years 1 and 3 guiders.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, totally.
Well, there's been enough. There's been enough material, right? Gentlemen,
Yes.
I want to thank you for your time to come and talk to us, not just me, but us about Ghost Machine and what the future of Ghost Machine and Hyde Street coming out October 2nd. And then, yeah, if you're into collected editions, obviously, because you're here on the channel, go and check out Geiger Deluxe Edition Volume 1 and then Junkyard Joe, which comes out this November. But yeah, thank you both so much for being here. And you're always welcome back, no matter what project you're working on. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll come back when we get a few issues of High Street and Arabelle.
Yeah, you guys got a lot of work to do. This monthly thing. Good luck with that. Thank you.
We love it. We like the challenge.
Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Thank you so much.